Welcome back to the Through the Line podcast. It's been about a week or so since I last uploaded an episode. Wanted to take a week off just to relax a little bit and enjoy my break before I go back to school. But a lot has kind of happened lately. Yesterday was Black Monday, which is for the NFL. When a lot of coaches get fired, there's a potential to have maybe at most 10 coaches. It doesn't look like it right now. We're going to talk about that in just a second. And then, some stuff going on with Jimmy Butler, and we're going to talk about the college football playoffs, and I maybe do my mock draft at the end. If not, then we'll do it another episode. But starting off with the college football playoffs, it was an interesting week. So, Boise State got beat by Penn State, and I said before that the game's going to be great or Penn State's going to rock Boise State, and you saw it. They keyed in on Genty, loading the box with 7-8 guys, and no matter how good of a running back you are, you can't make it through that. And I got so tired of seeing this is why Travis Herman was the Heisman because Genty couldn't do this, and this. You load 8 guys in the box, there's only at most 6 guys blocking for you. You got 2 unblocked dudes coming at you. So what are you going to do? You've got to get past all of them. You're not going to get past all of them all the time. He gave up a fight. I mean, he's getting hit 3-4 yards in the backfield and making it to the line of scrimmage. He did his best. Drew Allard looked good, though. And Drew Allard has looked a lot better as of late. There are rumors that if he was to declare now that he'd be QB1, which would be very interesting. Just due to his arm and everything else. I mean, he's completing his passes a lot better. He's got 24 touchdowns. He's accounted for 30 touchdowns. He's only got 7 interceptions. I mean, he looks good. But they played well. It was kind of disappointing to see Boise State get eliminated like that. It was probably one of the worst games of the weekend. Next up, probably the best game of the playoffs so far, Texas-Arizona State. And I said this before, Cam Skattebo is the truth. The truth. I have him as RB2 in this draft class. You can line him out wide as a slot receiver. He's so hard to tackle. He breaks so many tackles. If he can lower his pads on you, he's just going to start rolling around. And he did that against a team full of NFL-level dudes on that team. And it's impressive. I mean, he had a 40-something yard pass. He had 99 yards receiving, 140-something yards rushing. He carried that team. He also vomited profusely on the sideline. He got beat around in the first half, was very frustrated with the team. People thought he might start quitting. But, they fought their butt off. They took Texas to double OT. Texas played well in the first half. Again, like usual, struggled in the second half, and in OT put it back together. That Texas defense is elite, dude. I think the reason why Arizona was able to do what they did is because Cam Skattebo went on an insane run, and that they just pulled stuff out of the place. Cam Skattebo doing the pass, him lining them out in the slot. I don't see many teams outside of Ohio State being able to do that. And Quinn Ewers, he threw a ball, I think it was a Matthew Golden, 4th and 13, maybe. And he put it on a dime. And just on his hands, through the DB's hands, into Matthew Golden. I think it ended up being a touchdown. Great play. That might have been another time, and then they scored on the 4th and 13 again. It was a heck of a play. Steve Sark called a great game offensively. They didn't run the ball well, which isn't a surprise. And he's getting looks at for the NFL to move up. But I think that's the best game of the weekend. Cam Skattebo is definitely going to be at least mid to early round pick. I have him going early in the second to the Raiders because I think the Raiders right now, I don't have a third QB yet. I think the Raiders sign or trade for J.J. McCarthy or sign Sam Darnold, and then you draft a running back in the second round, and you get Cam Skattebo who can carry this team. Next up is the Ohio State-Oregon game. Dude, Ohio State just mollywopped Oregon. It's just nothing Oregon could do worked, right? Like nothing. They had more time of possession. They could not run the ball at all. I think that's been an issue. Some questions about them. Dylan Gabriel had minus 43 rushing yards. Jordan James, 7 of 14. Noah Whittington, 6 for 3 yards. It just didn't look good. Evan Stewart really wasn't a factor in this game. I don't know what happened to him. But Terrence Ferguson and Trayshawn Holden balled out for them at least. Trayshawn Holden had 2 touchdowns, 116 yards. And we're about to talk about the onslaught that Ohio State did. But it just wasn't, I mean, their offense just could not do anything. And their defense was holding on for dear life. Jabbar Muhammad got cooked. The guy that's supposed to be a top pick coming into this year. Will Howard's playing great, 17 to 26. A guy texted me. He's like, do you think Will Howard could be a late round steal? And I honestly, it's a great question. If he keeps up this accuracy, possibly. This is going to be a quarterback class with a lot of guys that need to develop who, down the road, we can have a lot of late round picks. Lord. A lot of late round picks who end up being starters or valuable backups, right? But for Ohio State, you know, Jeremiah Smith has 7 catches, 187 yards. I mean, he's got like 300 yards receiving now in the playoffs in 2 games. Emeka Egbuka, 5 catches, 72 yards. I mean, they went nuts. And Jack Sawyer had 2 more sacks. Put him up, at least for me, to a back first-round grade. Latham Ransom, who is just putting on a clinic, showing that he belongs to be a mid-early round pick at safety. Looks great. Tyler Williams did good. JTT, another 2 sacks. I mean, this is such a loaded draft class that it's going to be interesting with edges in the top 3 rounds. It's going to be interesting to see where guys go. I mean, JTT in a normal year would probably be a back half first rounder. And Jack Sawyer potentially mid first rounder. But, I mean, you've got so much depth. I mean, you're going to see... There's going to be a ring of, like, edge rushers being taken. And there's going to be, like, I think 15 to 20 that get taken in the first 2-3 rounds. And it's going to be a lot of guys who will end up playing meaningful downs. Speaking of downs, Caleb Downs, great safety. And Todd McShay said this. I would listen to his podcast. It's wonderful to listen to. And we'll kind of, speaking of that, we'll backtrack to a second to Quinn Ewers in a second. But he said, Jeremiah Smith declared now he'd be the number 1 overall pick. I full-heartedly agree. We don't really have a clear-cut number 1 overall pick. Jeremiah Smith's the truth, and he's only 19. Him and Ryan Williams, it's going to be insane. He's having Ryan Williams games when it needs most. Ryan Williams had some good games early in the year, but as the season went on, they just took him away. The teams were like, yeah, you're not passing it to him. You can't do that with Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith's like, yeah, just jump over your head and catch that. And it's a problem. And then you add, they got a big tight end in G. Scott. They also have Cardinal Tate, who's a good number 3 receiver who will probably be a second or third round pick when he declares. You have Quinshon Judkins, you have Travion Henderson. I mean, and they combined for over 150 yards rushing. Insane. This team is insane. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Cody Simon had 2 sacks. I mean, they came after the quarterback. They had 8 sacks. And I don't know how Josh Connery did, a guy that has some people, I mean, I've seen him go top 10 best player, to a third round pick, to I just don't know. I haven't watched much tape on him. Oregon got mollywopped. And I think Ohio State by far is the best team left. And whoever wins this game is going to be the national champion because they're going to mollywop Penn State or Notre Dame. And it's going to be a bad beating. Now, backtracking to Quinn Ewers, right? Side note, Carson Beck declared. Dumb decision. I thought he should have either stayed at Georgia or transferred. But Gunnar Stockton looked good for Georgia. And we'll talk about that game in just a second. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. But he declared Milroe, again, I talked about in the last episode, somebody's going to talk themselves into a third QB. It looks like Milroe or Drew Allard. Just depends who declares and what they look like at the combine. But Quinn Ewers, he's getting offered, and Milroe offered upwards of $7 million to transfer to Oregon, Miami, or Notre Dame. One of the three, right? And they say Quinn Ewers is gone and most likely declaring. And Todd McShay said this, and I said this. He doesn't look good. You take that $7 million and you stay for another year. You build up to maybe a second, first-round pick, and you're golden. But right now, you're looking at a third, fourth, fifth-round draft grade, and it's just not going to be good because he doesn't. The inconsistency is bad. Is really bad. Because some days he'll put passes, he throws it on you, and they look fantastic. You're like, holy cow! And then sometimes he just starts missing them. He kind of looks out of whack, panics a little bit, doesn't look very mobile, and it's just he needs to go. He needs to come back for one more year. But on to the last game, right? Yeah, last game, Notre Dame, Georgia. First half was good, right? And it was looking good. Then it's like 6-3. Georgia gets the ball back. They're going to go try to march down the field with a few seconds left in the game. They do it. Same hit that Carson Beck took is what Gunnar Stockton took when Carson Beck got hurt. And they fumble it. They pick up the ball. 2 plays later, Notre Dame scores. It's 13-3. They open up the half with a kick return. And I knew that game as a Georgia fan was over when they returned that kick. And you know what's crazy? They really... Nothing Notre Dame did here, looking at this now, was spectacular. Riley Leonard had 90 yards passing. He had 80 yards rushing. The next highest was Jadarian Price at 37. They could not move the ball. And outside of a 32-yard run for Riley Leonard, he had 13 for 48 yards. You look at this, and it was like, man, it's the battle of the sucker offenses. Georgia marches down the field, right? They're like in the red zone. They hit Etienne at the right spot, fumbles. Right? Then you have the fumble at the end of the half. Then you have Parker Jones being in the way, which was just stupid. There should be, if you're not dressed out, you should not be at the front, unless you're a meaningful player. And he's a walk-on. Right? There's just no excuse. We didn't outrun him, but we outthrew the ball. Gunnar Stockton had 234 yards and a touchdown. Nate Frazier was our best running back. Etienne struggled. I don't know why we didn't run the ball with Frazier more. Arian Smith had that 67-yard run. And Parker Jones, 60. It was supposed to have been more. It would have been like the 10. Parker Jones hits the guy. It's a 15-yard penalty. And then I think that leads to the fumble. We only were able to get 1 sack on him. The punting was a bit of an issue early on in the game. We just tried every way possible to lose it. And it's sad because a lot of these guys are gone now. Looking at it now, Warren Princeton, Jalen Walker, Malachi Starks, Chaz Chambliss, Damian Wilson just entered the portal. Nazir Stackhouse, Dan Jackson, Michael Williams, Smile Munden, Dominic Lovett, Arian Smith. You look at that, and offensive line, you look at Xavier Truce, you look at Tate Ratledge, you look at Ben Urosic at tight end. It was sad, man. They should have won this game. But just mistakes and stupid penalties killed us. By far, we played a better game offensively, but it was just sloppy football. First downs, we had 16 to their 14. Total yards, we had 296 to their 244. They outran the ball. They had 10 penalties. We had 2 turnovers. There's 14 points off those 2 turnovers. Guess what? That's 24-23. And if they don't return that kick, it's a different ball game. But Georgia we just struggled. We could not make plays when it mattered. Now, Carson Beck, speaking on it, he declared for the draft. Very similar to Quinn Ewers, and he was getting similar offers to Quinn Ewers. Probably should have stayed another year. Has no business really declaring. You may be able to talk yourself into a third round, second round pick for him. But I mean, he went from being a potential number 1 overall pick to going mid rounds. I mean, it just wasn't a good. I don't understand it. Todd McShay, he had some scouts and managers, and one former scout, our current manager, said, "Foolish." It's foolish. One word, foolish. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think Quinn Ewers is in an even worse spot if he declares, because he had an even worse year just because he didn't show the upside that Carson Beck showed. But now our matchups are Notre Dame versus Penn State, Ohio State versus Texas. I think the Ohio State-Texas game is going to be the winner of the national championship. I don't think Notre Dame or Penn State is good enough to win it all, because Notre Dame's never been there. Penn State hasn't been there either. And I think they can I think they'll end up choking. But, I mean, everyone said that this bracket was broken. If everybody that had a bye lost, and I think you need to look into that. I don't think buys should happen, or at least this long of buys. I think the bowl week needs to be moved up at least one more week. But, I mean, it's great. The automatic buys, I'm not a fan of. The automatic seeding was good. The automatic buys, I think the top 4 teams should get them. I think that matters. And then if you win your conference, you're automatically in. But also, I want to address this narrative. The narrative that the SEC is over and they're struggling. It was one bad year, and the Big Ten's so much better. The SEC is 10 times deeper. There's a reason why there were multiple SEC schools in. I guess there's 2 Big Ten schools in, but there were 3 SEC schools in. Could have been more. You could have argued for 3 more: Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Alabama. Right? The SEC is just deeper and it's better. Any given weekend, they're always in the top 10. This narrative that it's over is just done. 1 year. It's just 1 year. Wait for next year. Wait for Georgia to get better. Wait for Alabama to get better. South Carolina is building with Lenore Sellers. We don't know what's going to be of Ole Miss. Tennessee is going to be interesting. They've had a lot of guys exit the portal. We don't know about Nico anymore. So it's going to be interesting. But, I want to talk about this real quick. The Jimmy Butler debacle. Man, it's gotten ugly in there. He wanted an extension. So this all stems back to last year, right? So he's hurt. They beat New York. No, they don't beat New York, and they get bounced early. Right? And he makes the comment, and I full-heartedly think he should have kept his mouth shut, that if I was playing, New York would have been sitting at home, and so would have been Boston. And Pat Riley came out and said, if you're not healthy and playing, you need to shut your mouth. And he was right. I mean, that was just a stupid comment by Jimmy Butler. And it backfired. Jimmy Butler got butthurt, which is a shame because he's supposed to be one of the tougher players in the league, more calloused. He's having one of his worst years since 12 years ago. He then wants to be extended and make upwards of like $60 million. He wants to get the max, which is just unrealistic for a guy that's about to be 35. Who is 35. And he's had a lot of injuries. Cannot stay healthy on the court. I mean, we're looking at games since he's been at Miami. 58, 52, 57, 64, 60, 62. Only one of these games now would have registered him for awards. It's that simple. I mean, he's been an MVP candidate twice, in the top 10. DPOY twice. All-NBA second, and one All-NBA second and 2 All-NBA third teams. He's a 2-time All-Star since he's gotten there, but still, it just doesn't. I mean, this year he's shooting very efficiently, 55% from the field, only on 17.6 points. So it's like he can shoot more. And he what made it worse was he came out in his interview and he said, I just want to find my joy back playing on the court again. Right? He goes, I love the town. And they're like, well, can you find it here? Do you think you'll be able to find your joy back? And he goes, not here. So what it means is he doesn't want to be there. So what comes out the next day? Miami suspends him for 7 games, and they're going to try to trade for him. The issue is now, is teams know you have no leverage. None at all. So this massive haul that you were wanting to get cannot happen because you don't have the leverage to bring that in. They know you have to get rid of him. So they're like, yeah, we're just going to wait. You're going to have to trade him at some point. The 7 games is going to be up. He doesn't want to play for you. And so they're getting lowballed. And I think at some point you just got to offload him. Take what you can get. You're not going to get a massive haul at all. I think he's doing what James Harden should have done because they still got a haul for James Harden. And also James Harden was younger. James Butler's 35. He's playing a low in minutes since his second year. He's playing 30.8 minutes. The last time he did that was 2012-2013 season when he was 23. In 12 years. Right? It's very interesting. It's just an interesting situation. I don't know where he would go. It's not like the De'Aaron Fox situation where like a lot of teams want him. I mean, he could go to the Warriors. He could go to the Rockets. Those are 2 teams that are looking at him strongly. But, I mean, speaking of the Bulls, well, Jimmy Butler was on the Bulls. The Bulls are going to retire Derrick Rose's number next year. They held a ceremony for him recently. And that is huge. That is huge. That's really cool to see. Former co-host Carmine thought that he was the first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know if he is. I wouldn't be upset if he did make it in the Hall of Fame. But I don't know if he is just because he didn't accomplish everything in his career. Hopefully. But now on to Black Monday. Patriots kill. This was big. Patriots canned Gerard Mayo before he could walk out of the building Sunday, and the noise got loud. I mean, it got really loud there. I don't blame them for firing him. They wanted Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was getting interviewed by the Jets. They were running out of time. They had to can him, and they believed he was not ready. And I agree. The team looked bad down the stretch. I mean, terrible. I mean, just terrible. He kept calling the players soft. I mean, there's like 2 instances where he's like, "Yeah, guys are playing soft. Guys are, to the point where it was kind of like in disrespecting the players." And then he kind of addressed his coaches. It just seemed like he could not get his head around it, and he was slowly losing the locker room. It just seemed like he wasn't prepared. And I know it was quick, and it's only his first year. But inside the building, when you know a coach doesn't have it, you know. Like they could say, Bill Belichick was 5-7 his first year. Yeah, but they knew. Dan Campbell sucked his first year. They knew. They could see it building. You looked at Gerard Mayo and you said, yeah, this isn't working. I mean, yeah, they opened up the season and beat the Bengals. But, like, again, beating the Bengals, not that hard. Their defense is terrible. So, it's just that I get it. But, I mean, now we're looking at Mike Vrabel, who was getting interviewed by the Jets, and I didn't go nowhere near the Jets. Becoming the Patriots' next head coach. I would not be surprised within the end of the month he gets it announced. With rumors are that Aaron Glenn's going to the Saints. Speaking of that, the Jaguars just fired Doug Peterson, finally. I mean, that was so bad. Outside that one playoff year 2 years ago, it's been a dumpster fire. A dumpster fire. I guess you could say last year was the year that Trevor Lawrence did good. I can't remember. But it just, again, that he just looked like it just didn't look good for the team. And they just did not look good. Last year they didn't even make the playoffs. So again, this is 2 straight years. The running game has been atrocious, right? They failed to do the offense. The defense, with all the talent, has not been good in Jacksonville. It's going to be interesting to see who takes it. Again, Dan Johnson. Another guy. Mike McCarthy could land there, even though I think Mike McCarthy doesn't belong to be an NFL head coach. And, he just got interviewed by the Bears. And if I'm the Bears, that is the dumbest decision you can make. The dumbest. And that division's kind of wide open. C.J. Stroud regressed a little bit. They regressed. That defense is still pretty good, but the offense is just in shambles. They needed another receiver and offensive line. A lot of offensive line help in Houston. But it was just interesting to see that. I don't blame them. I mean, that was on the wall. I mean, we're looking up again of around, at most, 10 coaches being fired. The dumb decision that came out, and it's probably going to make it 9 now. Brian Daboll is being retained. And Joe Shane, who let Saquon Barkley walk and got blasted in Hard Knocks. Why? It's so dumb. I mean, they're going to suck again. And you're going to have a rookie quarterback come in, and you're going to fire the head coach, and you're going to restart. I mean, I don't even think they can get a rookie quarterback. If it is, it's Milroe. Do you think Daboll can develop Milroe? Didn't really develop Daniel Jones. I mean, they haven't really developed anybody over there. I think that was a dumb move. And then, the Colts here, staying Steichen, there's not too much noise, but I can see them getting fired. I mean, Pat McAfee lit him up. Again, terrible culture. Anthony Richardson's had to be pulled in like twice now to be like, hey, man, you're not doing your part. You've got to pick it up. If your franchise quarterback has to be, you have to do that to your franchise quarterback, you've got to get rid of him. He's not worth it. He's not worth it. You should not have to pull him in and be like, hey, man, you got to be pro. You got to be pro. What in God's green earth was he doing all of last year? This is something I don't like about pro sports. When they get hurt, they just leave the locker room. As a rookie, you should have stayed in the locker room. You don't know what in the world's going on. Learn. But I guess he didn't. And it's been a dumpster fire. And then them attacking Pat McAfee and then them losing to teams they shouldn't. I mean, they lost to the Giants. A team that they scored 40-something points. The Giants hadn't scored 40-something points since like 2021, 2022. You know how absurd that is? And honestly, I think if the culture's that bad, you've got to fire Shane Steichen. I don't know who you bring in, but you've got Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Adonai Mitchell. You've got a stacked front four. You've got a solid offensive line. You can draft a tight end. You've got a decent defense. I mean, it's just... It looks bad, dude. It's just... the Colts, man, it's sad. It's sad. Because I watch the Pat McAfee show about every day I can. And, I mean, watching them, it's just a struggle. Like, there is so much talent. And they were so close to winning the division, and then they just throw it away. Anthony Richardson's bad, man. Like a 50% completion percentage. It might be 47. The last time I saw it was like 47. It's abysmal. I mean, it's abysmal. I don't know how he stays in the league. It's just because he's a first-round pick. And it's kind of like the Brock Purdy thing. If Brock Purdy was a first-round pick, none of the slander would happen to him. None. But it's because he's a 7th-round pick, and it's like, he can't do it. It's not real. Why? Because he's a 7th-round pick. So? Tom Brady was one of the greatest of all time. Arguably the greatest of all time. At football, the greatest quarterback to ever play. And I will say that hands down over Patrick Mahomes because he's doing more with less. And then the Eagles, not letting Saquon Barkley break that record 100 yards away. You could have just fed him the ball the whole first half and then got him to 100 and something yards. And then you sit him out. And then you have that momentum rolling forward. You don't have that now. I think it's just stupid. I think it was dumb. Not fair to him at all. I think they should have let him get after it. But for whatever reason, they didn't. It just didn't feel right. Tanner McKee, though, might be QB2. That brother can sling it. I mean, holy cow. Holy cow. And another guy that can sling it, speaking of the Patriots, Joe Milton. You know, we've had 2 rookie quarterbacks that came out about this. So J.J. McCarthy, if they re-sign Sam Darnold, is going to potentially be traded. Raiders or Jets are the 2 guys looking at, because the Jets don't have a high enough draft pick to really get the quarterback play. And they said they bring back Aaron Rodgers for another year, which it doesn't seem very likely he can sit under, but he can also play and be the young quarterback that they need to develop around. Joe Milton can sling it, dude. And I say this a lot because I remember watching when he first came to Michigan, right? And, it's crazy enough that these two will always be tied to each other, right? Because he comes in, J.J. McCarthy's still a senior in high school, but he's committed to Michigan. And he's at, Joe Milton's at Michigan. Joe Milton's comp is Cam Newton. And the way he played at Michigan was Cam Newton. Just worse. He built like a linebacker. And he'd run the ball, RPO, run it, and then could throw missiles. Issue was just a little inconsistent. I mean, let's look up Joe Milton's. I mean, 241 for a touchdown. He also ran for one. And then that was something they said, he drew Kirk Cousins comps. But, yeah. So, he was there from 2018. Oh, so he played 6 years of college football. I was not aware of this. But in his third year, he must have medically redshirted. And then COVID yeared. Yeah, COVID yeared and redshirted. He comes in, his first year, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. It did not look good. It just didn't look good. Ran the ball somewhat decently, goes to Tennessee. It doesn't play till late 2022, throws 10 touchdown passes, no interceptions. And then last year, he completes 65% of his passes, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, runs for 7 touchdowns. He's got a cannon. And I mean, he's like running. There's a play where he's running to his left, running around. He flips his hips after avoiding guys, and he rifles one to Kayshon Boutte, who looks fantastic. Come along great. They've got their wide receiver 2 of the future with him. Rifles one in the corner, the guy catches it. I mean, it's a dime. It's a beauty. And, oh, my Lord, it's beautiful. If I'm the Raiders, I'm calling New England up. I mean, everyone knew this was going to happen, right? If Drake May looked good, and so did Joe Milton, who do you go with? Drake May. Because he's got the higher ceiling and the higher floor, right? Joe Milton can just suck. I mean, if you're not careful. If he isn't taken care of properly. Right? And so, back to the Michigan thing. He struggles, leaves. I think McCarthy comes in and starts playing. I think either behind him. So, which the locks on J.J. McCarthy are beautiful. I mean, just spectacular. Now, he comes in the next year, plays a little bit, and then he takes over the starting spot. J.J. McCarthy is more of a game manager to me. If I'm the Jets, I take him. If I'm the Raiders, I want Joe Milton. But it's going to be, I mean, those two, we're looking, I mean, when the game's happening, apparently general managers are calling like, hey, what do you want? What can we get for him? Even though he can't be traded, but there's a lot of buzz around Joe Milton. Don't be shocked. I mean, if the Browns called for him, and the Browns are an interesting spot. I have them trading Myles Garrett. He kind of wants out. He wants to go win, and I think they're a few years away. Right? You could go trade him for somebody, and you can go get future assets. You could probably sign somebody and then draft Archie Manning or Lenore Sellers next year. Right? Actually, I don't think Archie Manning. They said Archie Manning's going to get his 4-year degree, so that could change. But take it with what you will. They trade Myles Garrett. You get a few first-round picks. I mean, they'll get a haul. I mean, you go and the Lions, right? You trade for like a Joe Milton. You give up a third, right? You bring or Hendon Hooker, the guy he backed up for 2 years. Because Hendon Hooker is, I mean, we don't know what Hendon Hooker is going to give us, right? And he's now QB3. You draft a dual Carter in the first, second overall pick. You try to roll with Deshaun Watson, but it looks, by the way, side note, it looks like the Browns taking a quarterback. As of now, we still have until April, looks very likely. You take Abdul Carter, you replace Myles Garrett with another freak. And now, am I seeing Abdul Carter's going to be Myles Garrett? No. But he'll fill the role of the star defensive end. And you got all this draft capital to take shots everywhere you need to fix the roster. You go in, and you probably draft a running back. You could probably get Ashton Genty or whatever. No, back half of the first, you go get Prince Ulamale or someone else you want. And then you just, you fix your edges. You have 2 first-round picks on defensive linemen. You hope and pray that one of them pan out, more likely Abdul Carter. And then, if you suck another year, you cut Deshaun Watson, you draft Lenore Sellers or Arch Manning, or whoever's available then, Quinn Ewers. Or you draft a Carson Beck this year and have him battle it out. It's just a very interesting situation for them moving forward. You're going to look at Black Monday was a little bit slower. Again, if the Giants fired Dave Ball, I would not be surprised. I think you're going to see more firings the rest of this week. And deeper in the offseason. Also, big news, Titans fired Ron Carthen. That was kind of huge to see them fire Ron Carthen. And then also, last night, Gavin Lux got traded to the Reds. And that was such a weird trade because they got enough middle infielders. I don't understand the whole thing. But, let's look at here the trade. This broke out late last night. The Dodgers get a competitive balance round pick A and outfield prospect Mike Sirota. They just signed Hang Young Sung Kim, I think is his name. He's very similar name to Hung Sung Kim, the Padres infielder. So they may believe that he's the future at either shortstop or second base. But it'll be interesting to see. They needed somebody. It's a younger guy. He kind of replaces Jonathan India. Doesn't have the first base experience, but can kind of bounce around, play outfield if needed. But, looking at it, they just showed a thing on here. So, career games by position, 307 at second base, 69 at shortstop, but all the ones he played at minor leagues at shortstop, 39 in left field, 6 at center, 1 at third, 1 at right field. He's a super utility guy. Can't struggle to hit the ball since his ACL tear. But, yeah, the mock draft is not yet fully finished. It's done. I have pictures of it from using Pro Football Focus. I've yet to write it down. But that will be done this week. And what's also going to come out this week is my all-rookie team. And then I'm going to come out with my all-NFL team and for, first and second team. So, thank you for watching. It's a shorter episode. I've got work in about an hour, so I've got to get ready. But the next episode, if I don't end up working Thursday, I'll start recording it Thursday. So I'm off that day. But thank you for watching.